It's the All Star break, but we're not taking a break. We're here with the InGoal Radio Podcast, bringing you more great goalie goodness. Darren Millard is enjoying an All Star break this week, and one that is very well deserved. But here, carrying the ball, I'm David Hutchison, and with us, as always, the guru, Kevin Woodley.
Do I have to pay you like I pay Elliot Friedman every time he uses that line?
If I could get paid like Elliot Friedman, I'd be a happy man. I don't even have the hair either because I cut it all off this week.
I feel like every time he says that, I got to put check in the mail. So, because we all know it's not true, but it's appreciated. I am very happy for Darren that he's getting a break on the All-Star break. That guy works so bloody hard at so many different jobs, but I did have to give him a little boo because I'm a little bitter and jealous that I'm not also somewhere nice and enjoying a little downtime. It's kind of miserable here in Vancouver, folks. We've had an exceptional winter, but then it got kind of wet and gross and gray, and it's kind of that way now. So I would love to chase the sun for a little bit. So woeist me. First world problems. First world problems, baby.
So we are here thanks to the Hockey Shop Source for Sports. We are also here in the All-Star break, and I think it's a good time to mention that our friends at Sense Arena, Woody, one of the things that's happened in the most recent update is like some gamification. You can get in there and do some contests. And celebrating the All-Star game, NHL Sense Arena has an All-Star competition. Get into your headset, get involved in the competition. It's on right now. It goes through February 4th. If you're the lucky winner of the competition, you're going to get 2 tickets to a Stadium Series game. Or you could take $150 at the NHL shop, or maybe an extension to your Sense Arena license. Options available if you are the winner. I think that's one of the cool things. Look, it's a serious training tool, but everybody in their training loves to get in there and get competitive, see how they stack up against the other goaltenders. So check it out. If you want to try Sense Arena, it is the best off-ice training tool for goaltenders. And if you head over to sensearena.com today and use the code IGM50, you will save even more. Woody, you're on the All-Star break. You should put the headset on and try the competition.
I definitely need to. I need all the help I can get in terms of actually stopping pucks. And like you said, it's not the same, but I kind of equate it to the Peloton, right? Like, listen, you could just get an exercise bike and be committed and driven and ride the exercise bike and do classes, whatever. But there's something about the competitive nature of a spin class when you can see everybody else's results and you set your goals about wanting to be in a certain percentage. Like you need juice. I had this conversation. I'm going to name drop here. I'm going to give myself a little back pat. I had this conversation yesterday with Michael Bublé for the All Star game because he's a part of Team Hughes with the Vancouver Canucks defenseman and captain. And I had to do a piece at NHL.com, and we were talking about the format, which we can get into in terms of goalies getting screwed. But both the competition in the skills part and in the game itself, he was talking about how much better it is when there's juice on the line, when there's something there, that edge, that competition, that we want to win this, and it's financial for the NHL. And I love that Sense Arena's added some winning components to it too. I mean, Stadium Series game, having just gotten back from the Winter Classic less than a month ago, what a great experience that was. So to give somebody in that competition environment both the motivation to work a little extra harder on their game within the framework of that competition and the chance to win something as cool as a Stadium Series tickets, I think that's awesome.
For sure. Hey, one of the best things about the All-Star game is all the great gear setups we see on the goaltenders. We don't have the chance to grab great setups like that, but if we did want to improve our setup, where would we go to do that, Woody?
Probably the Hockey Shop.
We would go to the Hockey Shop and hockeyshop.com, our friends out in Langley, BC. What's going on there, Woody?
You know what? I'm seeing there's a lot of launches coming, which means I got to get back out there with Cam because he's going to have this stuff early. New lines including from we're going to get into the Vaughn SLR4 line that's launching now. Some elements of that today in our gear segment where we sit down with Cam. But we have full reviews coming on that. True's got a launch coming. Warriors got a launch coming. Like there's all kinds of things happening. And so if you want to get up-to-date information, unbiased, go see Cam and his crew. They'll give you the answers. They get it first. They meet with the reps. They go to the factories. Cam gets to go on these trips. get an understanding ahead of time what separates each piece of gear, how it works for certain goalies, and how and whether it will work for your game. Sometimes we chase the latest and greatest when it might not be what fits your style as a goaltender. You can always count on Cam and his crew at the Hockey Shop and thehockeyshop.com to give you honest answers about that. As excited as we are about all the new launches and releases that are starting to come out early, and I gotta say, like, seeing these things happen in January instead of, April and May is kind of cool. I like that it's being spread out now. But the reality is sometimes you don't need to pay for the latest and the greatest. And Cam's always going to give you an honest answer when it comes to that, as well as having access to the new stuff if you need it.
Hey, they got their demo sale on now too, and there are some huge savings on some stuff that in some cases is pretty lightly used. Good point that it's a great way to get a great deal. And also, if you live in the area, if you want to try some of this gear, you can do that through the Hockey Shop.
Yeah, their demo program's awesome. We haven't talked about that much in recent years, but when you see the demo sale and see how much gear they have, it's a reminder that, and I've done this with some junior goalies and stuff that have asked us about, say, like they're looking at maybe trying a Bauer product and they haven't. And in the past, when we were doing more regular reviews, they could try our sets. And now it's like, go to the Hockey Shop because they've got it. And so, especially when you start to get into these, really unique, new, upgraded technologies, CCM, you think about how they've changed the way the hand goes in the glove and some of the finger stalls. I think of Bauer with the slide, Warrior with the knee plate, the slide plate on the knee. It's exciting. We love innovation, but sometimes it's a tough adjustment. So to get the chance to take this on the ice like they do at the Hockey Shop with their demo program is great for goalies before they have to make that big purchase.
Awesome. Hey, listen, coming up in a little bit, our feature interview presented by NHL Sense Arena is Nicole Hensley of the PWHL Minnesota franchise. Lots of awesome things happening in that league. A lot of great excitement, and I'm really looking forward to hearing Nicole and Woody chat. But ahead of that, let's just get back to the All Star Game, Woody. I kind of feel like the goalies, the format of the games kind of screws the goalies, and now this competition, bit of an issue for me anyway. What are you thinking?
Well, skills competition, like I said, we liked it. That little chat with Buble, we like the fact they've added some juice, $1 million. But I'm like, how does a goalie win? How does
$100,000 they're offering the goaltenders? Sort of tells you how they value goalies, doesn't it?
Yeah, but at about 10%, it's kind of like the league cutting down on the spending on goalies now that you need two. Doesn't mean you don't have to pay one. It's really interesting, and it leads me to the question. And I don't know the order they're doing the competitions in, but if you're Thatcher Demko and you have 4 other Canucks, and I'm not sure, actually, I think only 3 of them are participating in the skills portion of the competition. So Pettersson, Miller, and Hughes. I don't think Brock was selected for the skills competition, but let's say it is the breakaways last, and you're Demko, and you've got an opportunity at $100,000, or you could let a couple in and your teammates win $1 million. I would never in a million years question the integrity of one Thatcher Demko. I'm just saying that the league has kind of put them in a position here where, I'd be tempted. I'd be like, hey, like it's like on the golf course when you're having a tough one, you got a match going down at the end, and it's like, yeah, we can both win here. Good. Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm giving you the 4-footer. You give me the 4-footer. We're good. Just let a couple ones slide through, take home your prize.
Hey, you could flip the script on this one. And how fun would it be for Thatcher Demko to laugh all year long that he cost one of his teammates $1 million?
Yeah, $1 million. Like, I don't know. Like, that would be.
That's not chump change even for these guys.
No, that would hurt, man. That would hurt some of these guys.
Yeah. Hey, yeah. I've got a confession. I'll give you my confession. Same kind of scenario. It wasn't $100,000. Many, many, many years ago, when goalies still stood up to make saves and made skate saves, I was in goalie school, and they had a competition to finish off the week. And the only way you can do it fairly, it was a breakaway competition. The only way you can do it fairly is guys of the same age shoot on the goalies of the same age, because of course they've got kids from sort of age 7 all the way up to, 15, 16. And so you got 5 shots from your shooter, and then next guy goes in the net and you come back and you get 5 more. So it's a total of 10 shots for every age group. I stopped my guy on the first 5, and he realized, because of how many goals were scored by all the other shooters, that he had 0 chance of winning this competition. And we didn't chat about it, but he came down on me, and I'm quite certain he put the next 5 into my pads. I went 10 for 10. I won a free stick at the Howie Meeker Hockey School. I got to strut around like I was the best goalie there, but I kind of knew that it was a bit of a tainted title. Makes me think to what might be going on this week at the All Star Game.
I don't think anybody's going to throw anything, but if it was $1 million, I'd take it tainted or not.
Well, I took the stick. I mean,
attaboy.
It was nice to have.
And we know that, like, there are other examples in goalie schools and goalie camps where this happens, giveaways, things like that, for sure. Once you get a lead, like, we've heard these stories. So it's just interesting. I don't think anybody's thought of it. I'm trying to think of the other goalies that are at the All Star Game. Like, Demko might be the only one. And then think about it, if you're Thatcher, what if it's between 2 teammates down the stretch?
Oh, man.
What if 2 of your teammates are both in the skills competition? In his case, I think he's got 3 in Pettersson, Hughes, and Miller. And it all comes down to the breakaway challenge. Are you letting up, like, it could get, like, and you know what? All jokes aside about goalies getting screwed, the whole thing's just a fun weekend. We're just kind of teasing and kidding around and whatever here. Even this conversation, like, it's fun, right? Like, it's fun. Yes, it's $1 million, but boy, like, think of the conversations that are going on if the scenario we just painted happens at the end. Say it's 3 Canucks, McDavid, and someone else, and I think they get to pick their goalie. I believe the shooters get to pick the goalie they shoot on. So if all of a sudden all the Canucks start picking Thatcher Demko to shoot on, and pucks start going in at a rate that is not Thatcher Demko-like, we might have some eyebrows raised.
Might want to say you have to pick your goalie who's not on your team.
And to be frank, maybe that is a rule, because this thing is evolving so fast. It might be a rule by the time we finish talking, if it isn't yet.
Oh, well, good fun at the All Star Game. I'm looking forward to seeing all the great setups that these guys have. I love that they really go all in.
And there are some not all in, some all out. We know some's coming.
Oh, well done, Mr. Funster.
We got some custom sets coming. We can't tease. We can't give them away yet, but there's going to be some beauties there. So look forward to seeing that, as always.
Awesome. Going to be fun. And look, if you approach a 3-on-3 tournament with the right sort of mental approach, it can be a ton of fun. You just don't expect to be throwing a shutout, but you can still have a great time.
One of the many topics we get into in our Sense Arena feature interview with Nicole Hensley, who is also at the NHL All Star Game, taking part in the 3-on-3 competition, the PWHL Showcase, on Thursday night, I believe, right ahead of the NHL draft.
Fantastic. It's going to be great. And I've enjoyed all of the PWHL games that I've watched in the last little bit. Really exciting stuff. And I'm glad that we've got that sort of added to our hockey repertoire now, and great to have a guest from the league on as well. So well done there, Woody. Before we get to the feature interview, though, I think it's time to head back to the hockey shop, because you had a good sit down with Cam over the Vaughn SLR4 chest protector.
Welcome back to the Hockey Shop, source for sports. We're over in Goalie Utopia, surrounded by the latest and the greatest in goaltending gear, not goaltending advisors. And we've got another new piece of equipment for 2024. I'm loving this. Like, people have dry January. We got fresh gear January here at the
I'm going to have dry January from Kevin here pretty quick. Goodness.
I am a little. The humor is a little dry, so that makes sense.
Oh, right.
SLR4, Cam.
Yeah, it's a chest this time.
It is. We got new stuff.
We do.
What's changed?
A few things. So, SL4 will start up at the top of the shoulders, brand new for this year. Also, there's going to be a pant, glove, and blocker, so you have to stay tuned. Not this review right now.
More stuff
but
coming.
We have more stuff.
He's like Santa in January.
I'm good with the crowd Christmas for a little while. It's okay. So, chest. NHL style shoulder floaters, slim down. So this entire unit, in theory, is NHL legal. I'm sure there's a few mods that need to be done. Again, like the back straps, they can't be adjustable and things like that. That's some of the differences you will find on an NHL style chest protector. However, for here, again, shoulder floaters, classic Vaughn pad in behind helps to puff up that overall presence. If you were looking for the chest to be a little bit more slimmed down and tied up against the body, again, take those out, tighten down those Velcro straps.
Well, question.
Answer, daily double.
Why would I want to look smaller, Cameron, by taking that out?
So I wouldn't necessarily call it looking smaller per se, as you wanted to increase your, say, head mobility. You're worried about backing out of the driveway while you're playing. You're facing the wrong way while you're in net.
It does make a difference. I like the slimmer profile in terms of, moving around and not, okay, I'll take it.
So
this is why I ask these questions, folks.
Suspender buttons make their return back.
That hurt.
Good. So suspenders, if you want to run them up and over top of the chest. Now, here's one where, again, it's going to pull that overall shoulder floater down if you do run it through here, but it is an option. Me personally, I would rather ride them like in between through here so they aren't pulling that shoulder floater down. But again, you have that option too. Pop them over top of that shoulder floater and help to lock them in with those snap buttons.
I like it.
All right. So, arm out. Perfect. So, adjustable arm. These simple snap options here will be able to pull that arm up and be able to adjust that arm length on the fly. This is a feature that I do like about the Pro chest protectors because it's a little bit hard to get that adjustability, especially, when fitting on the floor and whatnot. So growing, we're worried about that extra arm length, things like that.
I'm not growing anymore, Cam.
So good. I would probably actually button it up a little bit higher because this arm is coming down low on you. Squared off, arm floater. Moving to the arms as well. So the way that they've stitched this is quite a bit different than the SLR3, as you can see visually side by side for sure. So the way it flexes in, it's quite stiff in between here. So we do find that it's going to take a little bit of breaking to kind of get there. But in theory, that's less gaps that are showing up in that overall chest. And again, a more squared off profile for it as well.
Segments?
Segmented. We can see that segmentation at the belly. So this allows for a couple different options in terms of how you're wearing your chest protector. So front tuck, half tuck, full tuck, quite a few different options here. I think one of the preferred ones though is that a front flap you do tuck into the pants and then you need these outer flaps around the side.
No more size?
That will still aid a little bit in the overall size profile in terms of your initial look. But again, keep in mind you got to go seal up. That chest protector is going to want to kind of push out of the way a little bit. So turn around. That all the way around. Goodness. All right. Now you see their strapping system that they have in terms of for attachments. The way that body hugs with the two overall elastic straps that wrap around your body gives a nice tight fit to the chest protector, easily adjustable so you can kind of minutely dial that in. You also see the shoulder floater adjustment, the opportunity to move that out to the side a little bit more, change that overall profile in terms of where it sits on your collarbone. Nice, easy adjustments, good features from Vaughn. So we'll wait for Kevin to spin around like a top here. So if you want to learn more about the chest, you can give me a call, 604-589-8299 or 1-800-567-7790. You can check us out at thehockeyshop.com. We'll find the chest online there. These can be custom ordered. Limited stock amount that's available now. More will be coming in soon. Kevin.
Are the arms beefed up or is this sort of standard? Are we at that? Has Vaughn gotten to the point where we don't need to beef them up to not be black and blue?
Carbon unit. Stock Pro Carbon unit. I mean, these ones, again, Vaughn has made strides in terms of for that overall protection initially in the arms. Since the V9, we've noticed things have gotten quite a bit better.
So you don't need to add the Pro Beef like you used to have to.
That would be up to you. And, if you have that question, like I said, you can give me a call.
Okay.
Thanks, Kevin. There's
more stuff coming, right?
Yes.
Stay tuned for more Vaughn SLR4. Bye, Cam.
I love Dress Up Day. It was awesome hanging out there behind the camera, watching you guys do your thing. Woody, you make an awesome model. Doesn't matter whether you are a fan of any particular brand, Cam has got it. And we know every time we put something up for Vaughn, the comments start coming. When do we get to see the chest? When do we get to see the pants? Show us the gloves. Vaughn lovers are real fans of their gear. And I think they got a good one here.
Looking forward to going through the whole line. We've already been through a few, but we got those in the can for future episodes with Cam. So like you said, if you don't want to wait for our episode, you happen to live in the area or you're interested in the Vaughn SLR4 line, any of the pieces, make sure you give Cam and his crew a call at the Hockey Shop or check it out at thehockeyshop.com because they've already got it. You got any questions, they got answers for you, and keep your eyes tuned for more reviews.
All right, here we go. It's time for the NHL Sense Arena feature interview. We've already talked about it a little bit. Nicole Hensley of PWHL's Minnesota franchise. They're leading the league in attendance right now, I believe. Lots of exciting stuff happening there on the ice. And I was really excited that you managed to get Nicole on for an interview this week, Woody.
Yeah, no, and it's going to be a double dip because it was originally supposed to be Nicole and Maddie Rooney, her playing partner, also her playing partner on several Team USA at both the World Championships, both two-time Olympians. But this is the one thing about PWHL, and Nicole gets into this, like it's so much like they're traveling more professionally, the infrastructure, the support, all things she talks about, goalie coach, a lot of things that weren't happening consistently in the other leagues before this was formed. Like they've got that, but you're still flying commercial. And so the morning we were set they were set to join me was after a road game the night before. And so it's like you and me traveling, Hutch. We got to be there multiple hours early, and you're arriving overnight flights and things like that. So a bit of a conflict there. The good news is,
I bet you her playing partner isn't whining all the time on the trip like my partner does.
Well, and in my case, I'm the one that's doing the whining.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Oh, you mean yes? Soft. Oh, me. Yeah, I am a little bit soft. No, but the good news is we'll have a chat. Like we want to make this a regular occurrence, right? Like we want to catch up and get to know all the goalies. So we've had some in the past, Anne Renee Desbiens with PWHL Montreal, obviously Kristen Campbell we spent a lot of time with PWHL Toronto, but we want to expand this and get to know more of the voices. So the good news is we'll have Maddie Rooney on a episode in the near future as well as we're trying to get a hold of Corrine Schroeder and Emmerance Mashmeyer, like a lot of these goalies. We want to bring them to you. They have great stories. You're going to hear it from Nicole, like the background, how they deal with pressure. There are so many great takeaways in this interview, the stages she's played on, as well as what the adjustments are now that, hey, for the first time, she's got to deal with TV timeouts, right? Like things like that they're adjusting to, the travel, a more of a grinding schedule than they've had in the past. So really looking forward to this interview with Nicole, but also catching up with a lot of her peers in the PWHL, her teammate Maddie Rooney, and some of the other goalies around the league, and making this a regular thing on the InGoal Radio Podcast.
Awesome. If you haven't checked out the PWHL games yet, please do. Some fantastic hockey happening there, some fantastic goaltending.
And they're all on she's going to tell you, they're all on YouTube as well.
Absolutely. So it's free for everybody. Look, just a great thing that's happening in the game right now. So without further ado, let's head over and listen to Nicole Hensley and Kevin Woodley.
Really excited to welcome to the InGoal Radio Podcast. First time guest, long overdue to have you on, Nicole Hensley of the Minnesota PWHL squad, two-time Olympian with USA. Like, I think everyone listening knows the resume. I want to start with what's like right now. You mentioned just getting in late last night, like the world of professional hockey at this level, the travel, the crowds, everything that's going on with the PWHL. Just from your perspective, what this transition has been like, and, you know, just like, not even logistically, but just like the momentum that seems to be building around this new league.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. Happy to be on today and get to chat with you. It has been a whirlwind. First, I guess we're closing in on the end of the first month here for the season, and it's honestly been so exciting and to have all the hype around it, and you know, the number of fans, at least, you know, everywhere we've been has been great, and then Minnesota's had a ton of fans, and that's been really exciting. A couple of us were like recognized at a coffee shop the other day too, so it's kind of like a whole new world for us here. But it's been so much fun. Like the hockey, I think, is getting better and better, especially as teams, you know, first year together, you've got a ton of people who have never played together before trying to come together with the chemistry and things like that. So I think that's probably the most exciting thing about it. Is it's been super exciting so far, and you know, it's just the beginning. Like people are just getting their feet wet here, so I think you know, as we go, it's just going to get better and better.
Now you've obviously, I mean, you played for Buffalo in 28-19 in the PHF, and you were in the PWHPA as well. What the significance of this step now that it is just one league and everyone's together? Do you see a difference in terms of not just like, forget the quality of play, because the quality of play was excellent at the other levels as well, but just the environment around it, you know, like got a goalie coach in Brennan. I want to ask you about, like, there just seems to be a more professional approach. Is that, from the outside at least, does that match what you're seeing on the inside?
Yeah, 100%. The number of staff we have, I can't even tell you all the staffing positions we have, because it's like nothing we've ever experienced before, so just to, even whether it's the business side or the coaching side, the playing side, it's been night and day compared to just about, almost everything I've been a part of in the women's hockey world. And we're very fortunate to be at XCEL Energy Center and have the backing of that facility as well. And yeah, I mean, 2 years ago, we're practicing at like 6:30 in the morning so that we can have, numbers at these skates so people can be there and then go do their job to get paid. So we went from that to, this being a full-time job, and with not just like the money side of it, but also like, to have 2 athletic trainers, massage therapists, chiropractors coming in, like that's completely new to us to have access to that on a consistent basis. And it seems like small things, but it's those, those are the things that allow you to compete well over the course of a season. So just to have those things as players is just night and day to anything we've had before.
I was going to say, like, anybody that thinks those are small things just hasn't tried to do it gone through the daily grind of what professional hockey is. And I think in talking to, other players that were part of the PWHPA before, that was kind of, money's important, like you said, and contracts are good, but like it was the infrastructure and the support that surrounded it that allowed you to have a chance to succeed, where you're not running to other jobs or having to pay for your own massage therapist or find your own time on the table to get an injury looked at after a game or a practice. Yeah,
I think, that was the vision from the beginning with the PWHPA was a sustainable league that, it was one of those things, like if you build it, they will come. And I think, so far through the first part of the season with the number of fans we've had at games is proof of that. And to have it so easily accessible on YouTube as well as on TV and local markets in the US, I think that's huge. The women's game's more accessible than it's ever been. And I think that's something that's really important to us. And we know that it's important to grow the game and all those kind of things too. A lot of points, learning opportunities from other women's leagues and understanding, those things that we need to do to continue to with the growth and to continue the momentum has been a big deal so far. And I think it's only going to continue in that direction.
Well, I got to say, we're excited at InGoal about the fact that the games are on YouTube, because we need to do ProReads with some PWHL goalies. We do the video sessions with the NHL guys. So now that it's there, I gotta create a little extra time to clip some videos, because that's something you say yeah now, but wait till I start annoying you with requests for video sessions.
Okay.
So all those elements you mentioned, the XCEL Energy Center, record-setting crowds for your first home game, and that momentum continues to build there. You've played on big stages before. You've played on the biggest stages before, at the Olympics with international audiences. So rather than just say, hey, what was it like? Was it any different in that moment? But I guess more to the point for other goalies, in any of those moments, what are the tools you've developed over the years to make sure you can be in the moment, enjoy the atmosphere, but still find your game? There's probably a lot of young goalies that, whether it's playoffs coming up, they're nervous about those things. How are you at your best under the brightest spotlights?
I think it is in some ways it is kind of different. It is obviously when you're playing US versus Canada, if you're in Canada, they're cheering for Canada. If you're in the US, like they're cheering for the US, but there is something like a little bit different about like this being like our team and like our state. I can't put my finger on exactly why it feels just a little bit different, but it kind of does, and I think that's a good thing. And I think, it's just exciting. It's just something, like I said, we've never really had before. Like I was saying for our first home game, I felt so weird because I couldn't tell you the last time I drove myself from like my home to a game. We're so used to, you fly in, you're at the hotel, you're on a bus to the game, or you're walking to the rink, or like all those different things that we were all like, we had a conversation, we got the rink. I was like, was that weird? Like we just drove to a game. We haven't done that, so I think that all of that plays into it too, to really feel like you're at home when you're playing at the X. And I think for me the biggest thing is no matter what's going on, like outside the glass, the game's the game inside the glass. And no matter what noise or what's going on in the crowd, like it's all just energy, whether they're cheering against you or cheering for you. Like, I think that you can use those things as just like, it's just energy. People are excited. Like, I think that that's kind of the way I look at it, at least. And for me, I kind of keep my preparation the exact same, whether it's, first game of the season, last game of the season, road game, home game. I try to, 7 p.m. start, 3 p.m. start. Like, I try to keep my preparation pretty consistent. And I think that's something that helps kind of keep you grounded. And no matter what kind of game it is, it's a reminder that it is just a hockey game and you've played plenty of them before and you know what to do.
So it did feel different. Like you're making history, as much as an Olympics is probably the biggest stage you can be on. You've been to a couple. This did have a little bit of a different vibe to it for you by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I think it did. It was, I mean, the Olympics is still the Olympics. Like, that's right. The biggest thing you'll ever do as a women's hockey player, I think. But in terms of actual games played, but like, yeah, it was different to, I think, just kind of the ownership you feel as a team. Like, this is our home ice. These are our fans. This is ours, as opposed to, well, in when we were in Beijing, like, you're playing in front of an almost empty crowd with no family or friends there. So it's, that just was a different feel. And in South Korea, it was completely full, and it was, but there you've got fans going both ways. Like, it's not a full home or away crowd. It's both. So it's, I don't know. There's just a different type of ownership to it, I guess.
Okay. So that once you're on the ice, you said like everything outside the glass is just energy, that routine, the importance of keeping it consistent. Can you walk us through some of the keys to your routine a little bit? Feel free to give examples if you're comfortable with it. You're talking to a lot of young goalies. We get a lot of parents and kids that listen to this on the way to the rink. And they're always looking for little tips, things they can maybe add to their routine. Sometimes it can get overwhelming if your routine gets too big. How has yours evolved over the years, and what are some of the keys?
Yeah, I think it's been a lot of trial and error over the years. Like, I think the biggest one that's probably stuck for my entire life has been listening to music. I love listening to music on the way to the rink, and I like to do like upbeat, positive kind of, like, not talking like, I don't know, just stuff that's no sad songs, I guess. Like, you don't want that kind of energy, but just upbeat, loud, like stuff I know that I can sing or know the lyrics to. And I don't sing out loud, don't get me wrong, but like, yeah. And when I get to the game, the first thing I do, I always tape a stick. And I think, we get to the rink like 2 hours before, right? So you've got time to kill. And like, for me, as a person, I'm kind of an overthinker. So my biggest thing is keeping my mind busy and not thinking about hockey all too much until drop the puck. I think so I'll tape a stick and then generally get any treatment needs or whatever. And then I go juggle the soccer ball with my teammates and play sewer and just kind of keep it nice and loose. A lot of smiles, kind of get a little sweat going to, feel warm and kind of just have fun with that. And then it's kind of, once I start putting my gear on is kind of when I kind of go into my own little world a little bit. I'm not much of a chatter. It's kind of nice, like, being on a team with Maddie this year, because we both get each other and know what each other needs because we've been playing together for so long. So, I could sit right next to Maddie and she knows like, Nick probably doesn't want to talk today. Whereas if Maddie's playing, I know Maddie will want to chat, like, so it's kind of nice to have a goalie partner that so well and can kind of bounce off of. So, and then on ice, it's kind of more just, I don't know. I only really put any like care in the warm up as the first, like, we do the 3 shots from the top, and you're going to save all those. So like, those are the ones where I'm like, yep, I feel good. Cause you never know what the players are going to do when they start shooting the pucks. If they feel like they need to feel good and they're just barred down and you in warm-ups, like you just got to kind of roll with it. So I feel like just treating the warm-up as the warm-up and being good with your habits. That's something you mentioned, Brennan. That's something Brennan is big on, that, he always tells me it doesn't matter how many goals go in today, Nicole. We're just focused on our habits when I start to get frustrated or things like that. So kind of the same thing in warmups, just focus on doing the right things. And that's, going to prepare you more than how many goals go in warmups type thing, or how many don't, whatever. And from there, it's just kind of, I'm definitely someone that gets pretty nervous, can feel it in the pit of my stomach most of the time. And I fought that for the longest time. I would say I shouldn't be this nervous. I shouldn't feel like this, or what? It's just a hockey game. And I kind of got to the point where it happened enough that I was that nervous and went out and played well, that it was just kind of picture that nervousness the same way I picture the crowd is it's just energy. It means you care. It means you want to do well. So I just kind of know that that's part of my process. I'm going to feel that way. I'm going to feel the nerves, going to feel the butterflies, and just kind of embrace it rather than fight it is kind of the way I look at that. I do a couple breathing techniques, just 1, 2, 3, hold, 1, 2, 3 out type thing, but nothing too crazy. I think it just kind of used to it at this point. So it's just kind of live with it. And then, and then I guess during the game, with TV timeouts and stuff like that, I go over to the bench and get a drink, and I don't really interact too much with anybody, just good job here or there. But it's kind of, again, getting the water, kind of preoccupied with what's going on and trying not to think too much, and generally do a couple skating things, just again occupy the mind, back in the net, go for it. It's something kind of a little bit different this year. We've had TV timeouts before, but never this long, and never this it's never consistent. Some games you have them, some games you don't. So kind of had to work this year a little bit more to develop what I was going to do during that time. So that's kind of been one of the bigger adjustments more recently.
I was going to say, people forget that is a big adjustment. I remember can't remember who it was. It might've been Devin Levi. He got to the World Juniors, and for the first time, all of a sudden there was these gaps in the game, and sort of having to figure out they're so long. What do I do with my time? And like you said, especially if you're a thinker, you don't, the wheels can start spinning pretty quick up there if you don't get control of it or find ways to manage it. I love that the advice of embracing nervousness rather than trying to figure it out all the time. That can't have been an easy one to come to. Did you have help, or was that as you said, a process of time, or were you talking with mental coaches, sports psychologists to embrace it? Is a lot of people would probably still be fretting about it. Heck, I play beer league and I still fret about it.
I think it's kind of a combination of all those things. I think in college was when I really started, I would get so nervous before games, and it would be if we were going out and playing Wisconsin and I knew I was going to get 50, 60 shots, and it was just just nervous. Brianna Decker's on the other team. She's one of the best players in the world. Things like that gives you a lot to get nervous about before a game. And I think it was honestly just repetition of being seeing how many times that the way I felt necessarily before the game didn't necessarily impact how I played, and kind of the same thing with warmups. I've had horrible warmups and gone out and played amazing after that. And I've had great warmups and gone out and played horrible after that. So, it's just kind of having that experience over and over again. And you mentioned a sports psych coach. I wish that I had kind of understood or known what that kind of was all about earlier in my career. I would say it wasn't until I started making Team USA teams that I even knew really what it was, and how to talk with them and stuff. So I've gone with I probably have had 2 since that time that have been super helpful, and some of it was just getting me to understand me more. The overthinking part of it was a big. They were kind of with the way your personality type is, I really want like I will feel so bad letting my teammates down that it's like important to me that to know that like they trust me and those kind of things. And I think, to just be like, I didn't really realize that's why I felt the way I did, So just to through those sports psychologists, understanding myself more just made it easier for me to be like, oh, this is why I feel that way. Yep, here's a way through that type thing that in talking with them. So I would say, yeah, I wish I knew those things earlier.
Right.
Yeah, so that would have been nice, but yeah.
Well, those sound like personalized too, right? Like they kind of fit into two categories, right? There's this sort of little, could be mantras or things stitched on your glove that help you find a moment or find a focal point. We see it right up to the NHL. Guys have things written on their inside of their sticks, right? That are sort of more sort of general goalie things. And then there's truly understanding yourself and how your personality fits into how you react to things. Those are kind of almost like two different levels of sort of, mindset coach versus, true sports psychologist.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would say a lot of the times when I talk to them, the conversation always starts out with just like, how you doing in general? How's life? What's going on? Like, and I think that was something I learned kind of, I would say right after college was, it is important to like take inventory of what's going on in your personal life, like that those things can affect how you feel on the ice. I was like, Luke Vanker, my goalie coach, he was like, there were times we'd get on the ice and we didn't do anything and we'd just sit there and like talk because something was going on and like it wasn't going to matter how many pucks I did or did not stop that day. Like I wasn't going to feel good about it. And it was, and obviously there's a balance. Like you have to be able to put things aside and go do your job too, but it's okay to understand that there are days that that's just not going to be possible. And you have to kind of understand how the rest of your life plays into your performance on the ice and to also understand that your performance on the ice doesn't like define you. I think that was a big learning thing for me too, was to see myself as more than a goaltender, as more than a hockey player. Like, we're all so many more things than just that. I think when I discovered that too, like that was a big thing for me to like kind of relax a little bit, not to put so much pressure on myself, and kind of started telling myself in college, no matter whatever happens today, like I get to hug my parents after the game today because they're here, so that was just like little things that little reminders kind of to myself throughout the process.
Now, the other part of that is there's sort of like in the moments in the games when things happen, when you say you're an overthinker, is it the emotional side of worrying about or was it more, were you analyzing plays afterwards? Which side of it, or was it a little bit of everything by the sounds of it?
Yeah, maybe a little bit of everything. I definitely say like I'm a perfectionist. So like there's definitely times in goal, like in practice or in goalie sessions where I'd save the puck and I'd be like, nope, that wasn't right. And it's like, you stop, like, there's no right or wrong. The puck is not in the net. Like that is what is important, So kind of trying to find that balance of like wanting to be the absolute best every time you step on the ice and understanding that like, sometimes saves are saves. So I think, yeah, for me, it's more of an analyzing thing. I think for me, again, like, God, we have Jumbotrons now. We didn't always used to have those. So it's
replays. Yeah, that's a big one. I know goalies, in the NHL that like some of them rely on that as sort of, okay, that's what happened there. Or they didn't see a tip or what actually happened to play, and others that don't want to have anything to do with it. So I guess you're having to figure that all out. Like, where does this fit into my routine?
Yeah. So I feel like so far I only watch it if it is a goal where I'm like, what happened? Like it was, a screen or like it hit something, whatever. So those are kind of so far, that's kind of the way I've taken it. But yeah, again, it's just me trying not to overthink. I have the same routine after getting scored on. I generally like take my it's kind of like take my helmet off, gloves off, kind of like reset, helmet back on. And that to me is kind of the reset, like putting the helmet on again. And
you're back in the moment at that point. You're not reflecting anymore.
Yeah, exactly. That's like for me when it's time to like, you can think about it for a second or two, but then it's like, back in the moment and kind of that like next shot focus, I guess.
Easiest thing to say. I always say this is the easiest thing to say is next. Is it golf too, right? Like one shot at a time, one shot. It's so easy to say, and yet so hard to do.
So hard. Yeah, for sure. It's taken a lot of goals being scored on me to kind of like figure out how to deal with it.
Oh, well, I love the advice. All this is stuff that's going to resonate with a lot of other goalies. I kind of hinted at it a little bit before. Big Brian's athlete, love the gear, love the designs. Do you still have, like, because we have talked about, like, I know guys that write things. I know, Brian's used to stitch things into the back of blockers. Share, if you don't mind sharing the origins of the ice cream and the ice cream cone on the it's on the glove, right? On the cuff?
It's on both, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that was one of those. I was in St. Louis working with Luke Banker, my goalie coach, and was not having a great day, and I was getting frustrated, and he just kind of looked at me. And keep in mind, like with him, I was skating at like 7:30 a.m. Like that's when we get on the ice, and he goes, "What would make you happy right now? Like what can we do here?" And I said, "If I had some ice cream." And he goes, "Oh," he was kind of like, "Okay." And so he goes, "Well, why don't you go get some stickers and put them on your glove, and that's what we'll do here." And so I did, just more as a joke than anything. I was like, fine, I'll go to the store and get some stickers of ice cream, put them on my gloves. And so I did, and came back with it, and we had a good laugh about it. And then when I got the opportunity to design my first set of Brian's with USA Hockey, I was like, I wonder if they could like do this, And so I was like, I'm talking to him on the phone, like, any way that you can just, stitch an ice cream cone onto there? Like, this is kind of a weird request or whatever. And he goes, "Oh no, we've had weirder. That is, yep, we can do that. Just send us whatever ice cream cone you want on there." And so it is kind of my, like, if you look at it, it just makes me laugh a little bit and kind of can put me back in a good headspace to just be like, that this started as a joke and now it's been on every set of gear since then. And so it's just kind of a good little fun reset for me.
Yeah, I love it. And perfect that you're with Brian's, right? So like a company that I just had a goalie that tests equipment for us. It sent me a text this morning with this new set, and it's like literally one pad is like knights in armor, and the other side is like demons, and they're fighting on his pads. And I'm like, and when you see it cut and sewed like that, it's unreal what they can do.
Yeah, they're so much fun.
So you've mentioned perfectionist a couple of times, and that's a tough thing to be as a goalie. We're always looking, right? Like technique matters, and the tighter we can be, the more efficient we can be. All those things matter. And yet, as you talk about the replays or what the hell happened, like the game is increasingly, it's not perfect, right? Like it's just not perfect. It's a funny shaped frozen object bouncing on ice and 10 people buzzing around us that it can hit.
Yeah.
Balancing those two, how, like, I know you want to be perfect in practice, as you said, and perfect technique. Like, is that a tough thing to, manage and get away from? Like, sometimes good enough is good enough as long as you make the save, but you're still striving for perfect. How do you find that balance yourself, Nicole?
I think, like, for me, it's and you have to keep in mind too that ever since college, for the most part, we play less than, until this year, we played like less than 15, maybe 20 games a year. And like, so, and then a lot of those are world championship games where it's like mistakes cost you dearly. So it's like, I feel like in the practices, knowing what was ahead or potentially ahead, it was like, you want to be as close to perfect as possible, as know that you are going into those games as good as you can be, because they all matter.
Right.
And I think so for the longest time you spent so much time practicing with like not always the most like game feedback to know exactly what you need to be working on, that it was like, I don't know, there was just, you did want to be as perfect as you could be for that. And I think now kind of it is kind of awesome to be playing so many games where it's like there isn't as much time to worry about the in between, it's like, well, we played back-to-backs this weekend, and then we played on Wednesday too. So it was like we played like 3 games in 4 days. And so it was just like not a ton of time to analyze game 1. Let's go to game 2, and then let's get to game 3. And so I think that's kind of the thing to work through now, is understanding like, okay, I've got 3 days between games. Like, let me take a look at, some of the video from the last game, kind of analyze it. Okay, move on, start kind of prepping for the next opponent. So I think like I've always been pretty good at practice is practice, and I want to be absolutely perfect there. And then to just kind of let the instincts and athleticism take over in game.
So that's technique is the foundation, but you have to let it go once the puck drops in a game environment. Yeah,
absolutely. Like, it's no matter what you try to do in practice, it's nearly impossible to replicate what's going to happen in a game. Like, it's like tips and screens. You try to get players to stand in front of you. You try to get them to do what they would do in a game. They don't want to get hit with the puck. Get it? But like, I need you to do a flash screen this way and somebody else come in this way so I can, so it's hard to replicate it. So I think to understand that, okay, I'm as good as I can be leading into this game. I have done, I think that leads to confidence too. It's something our team talked about this weekend. Like, preparation is where your confidence comes from. To know that you've done all you can leading into that game, like, now just trust yourself and go play hockey. And I think that goes for goaltenders and players alike. And yeah.
It sounds like it's like when you were in school, right? Like when you went into a test prepared, you weren't nervous.
Yeah, exactly. You did everything you could, and you don't have to look back on it and wonder.
I think that so the perfectionist, the technique, all those elements probably tie into the habits you talked about earlier, like just having good habits, not focusing on results, pucks go in. What would you say if I were to ask you what the foundation? Now, if I was going to have you and Maddie on, I was going to make you describe each other's games. But if I ask you to describe your game and the foundations of it and where your success is rooted, all this success you've had, what are there? There's obviously different layers, and it probably evolves over time. But what are the staples? What are the foundations? If a young person asks you, like, what should I focus on? What is the thing that's going to be my differentiator as if I have that dialed in at a young age?
I think like the biggest thing for me over the course of my career is my skating. I think I was very fortunate as a kid that I didn't even know exactly what was going on, but like one of the dads on our team, when our team was doing drills that weren't shooting, this was when I was like a squirt or a peewee, and he would take me to the middle of the ice, and he was just one of the dads on our team, and he wasn't a goalie, didn't know a ton about goalies, but he would just take me up there and we did so much skating. Like, it wasn't even goalie skating necessarily, but it was moving in kind of awkward ways, or like, I don't know, knee up, knee down. So I spent so much time in my gear doing skating, even though it wasn't necessarily two pushes and shuffles, that I think that was really the foundation of, my goalie skating, was just being so comfortable in my gear on just doing all kinds of weird things. And, from there, kind of when I got to college and met Luke Venker in St. Louis, like we worked on it. At least, that was how we started every single day, was some skating drills. And like, they were all different. They were all creative. Some days we'd be doing weird stuff that was not goalie skating. Some days it would be T-pushes, shuffles, butterfly slides, all that stuff. So I would say that's kind of was the initial separator for me. I would say that's probably the strongest point of my game, is my ability. And I'm 5'6". I'm not huge. So I have to be able to get from point A to point B and set like quickly. So I think that was a big thing for me, and kind of what I think I've developed over the course of my career is my play reading ability, to have a good idea of, what options they have, who do my D have, what are my D going to do? I think that's kind of, where the rest of it comes into play. Again, not huge, so need to know where I'm going and get there quickly and set. So I think those are probably my two biggest factors for me.
skating, like when you talk about, it's funny you say weird skating. Like we see a lot of the drills now that like they're not confined within a crease. Like Carey used to talk to us about crease movement patterns were his foundation. But as the games become so dynamic offensively, we see more of these dynamic skating drills that don't look like what a goalie does in the crease, and they're designed to create edge control. It sounds like whether it was the parent or Luke, sounds like you were ahead of the curve on those things.
Yeah, I don't know if we knew that we were ahead of it, but we were just out there, especially when I was a kid, just kind of out there doing what we could when we didn't have any space, and at center ice when the players are doing who knows what in the rest of the zone. But yeah, I think that was, I would say that I'm very fortunate to have had the natural ability with some of it too, but it was definitely something that beat into the ground, like that was one of the things I could control and I could be close to perfect at, was the skating part of it, and then to be able to use that then to my advantage to read plays, get places on my feet, like that, I think made a big difference as I got playing higher levels.
Well, I was going to say, like, if you're a good skater and you read the play well, I would imagine the other part that's increasingly important in the game at all levels, men's and women's, is patience. And as you said, if you're not 6'3", the ability to hold edges, to not commit early, whether it's off a release or whether it's off a pass, probably funnels pretty naturally from being a good skater.
Yeah, I agree. I think like one of the things that Luke helped me with to kind of stop doing is like buckling my knees so early to get set. So then he's like, all you can do is go down now. Like, it doesn't matter if they pass it or shoot it. You're so buckled and committed to that. So
like when I think of buckling, you mean like knees sort of knocked inside and the edges out wide? So yeah.
And so he's like, that was the biggest habit that he was able to like kick for me was, and geez, that took so much time when you've been doing that for so long.
I was going to say that's not easy because that probably feels like that was your save stance probably. I'm guessing when you got into save execution, you probably felt loaded in that stance.
Yeah.
And now you've got to learn to be able to execute a save from a completely different biomechanical position. That's not an easy switch.
No, it was because he was like, it was one of those things. He's like, you don't do it every time, but like when you think they're going to shoot, like you really. Then he goes, and then on top of that, now you're buckling yourself lower. Like you're so short. Like this just doesn't work. Like, so it was just kind of like, okay. Like, let's, and it took a lot of repetitions, but that was probably the biggest difference later on in my career that we changed, that made a huge deal. Cause I would say, as an older goalie, it is so awesome to have goalie coaches that like let you be you. And then it's like, we're just going to tweak this, or like, we're just going to, what if we did this instead of that, and kind of like go back and forth with. It's interesting. I feel like our position might be the only one in the game where it's like you have more of a back and forth with your coach rather than coach being like, you do this, like yes or no, like no, that's what you do. And I think that's what, to have goalie coaches that you can go back and forth with, and in a respectful manner, obviously, but like you see it this way, they see it that way. Okay, where can we meet in the middle, or like what, like. I think that's probably also made a big difference for me, to have that kind of support.
So have you ever had the other way where you've had a goalie coach just like, this is what we're doing, without naming names? Because that can be tough for, like you see it for kids up until junior and even pro. Like goalies will switch teams and all of a sudden there'll be a coach that's like, and you want to try new things and you want to put tools in the toolbox, but not everything works for every goalie.
Yeah. I think like, I don't have anyone in mind that was like, you were going to stop, like, we're going to do this way and like no questions asked. But I think for me, I was someone who wanted to know why we were doing something. And so I would get very frustrated when it was like, we're doing a skating drill or this, that, or whatever. And you couldn't explain to me, like, if it didn't make sense to me and I was like, why are we doing this? And you could not explain why to me, like those things would get very frustrating for me. And I think it's because I'm like, I don't know. I just wasn't someone who was going to be like, we're going to skate up and down the ice, or like we're going to do however many butterfly slides it takes you to get down the ice. I'm like, well, why am I doing that? Like, why do I need to do 50 butterfly slides up and down the ice? Like, can you explain that to me? And well, conditioning. I'm like, no, because now I'm just doing it poorly up and down the ice. Like, I definitely could be a little bit of a problem when it came to things I didn't understand. I would
note to young goalies. As you said earlier, you have to do it respectfully.
You got to do it respectfully, and I'll be the first to say that I do fail in that category sometimes when I get frustrated, but definitely go up and apologize after. But yeah, I think like that's something I think at the end of it like helps me to understand the why. I think as a person that helps me, so it makes sense why as a goaltender I'd want to know the why. But yeah, don't listen to me on that one, especially young kids. There's a reason your coach is telling you to do what you're doing.
Find that balance. It's okay to question things. Just do it in the right way. You mentioned play reading, and this is something we're obviously fascinated with because I do think there can be, I don't want to say has been, but there can be a tendency for young goalies to always hesitate on this one because I don't want to say goalie school goalie. I hate the phrase. But we can get stuck in a position where we're always doing the same drills. The puck always goes to the same spot. And you're almost cheating the drill. Like you just got to this, and I'm here and I drop. Play reading. How'd you develop it? Like, is it just experience, just time? Did you use a lot of video? Because I know there were probably different phases where you wouldn't have had access to, the amount of video you do now. How do you become good at reading the play?
That's a really good question. I think a lot of it is experience. Like you see things over and over and over again and it's playing with and against certain players for a long time too.
Right.
I think like kind of having an understanding of the game itself too. Like when you're sitting in a meeting where they're talking about how your team wants to attack offensively. So like some goalies maybe zone out because they're like, this doesn't apply to me. But like, while yes, there are different ways to do things, most of the time what your team is trying to do offensively is probably what most teams are going to try to do to you as well. So I think like that's one thing I think is understanding the game as a whole. Like what are they looking for on a 3-on-2? Is there pressure coming on that F3 or is that person open? Or like, is the F2 driving hard to the net? Are they a tip option? And like so I think it's huge to understand how the other team is offensively trying to attack you and understanding how your defensive team, when your team's on defense, how are they supposed to defend it? Like what are your team tactics of how you're supposed to defend it? Because then they might not do it every time. Like you still have to be ready for anything, but like you have a pretty good idea of, okay, this D is going to step out to the wide player, this D's taking speed to the net. Like to know those things kind of gives you a little bit more of an idea of what could happen. So I think that's a big thing actually is paying attention in meetings that you actually don't think pertain to you. I think I watched a ton of hockey as a kid.
I was just going to ask and you probably watched it with the same type of eye. Like I'm guessing there was a sort of studious approach to it.
I think I was blessed early on. One of our coaches like was very into like teaching you how to be a student of the game and like watch hockey and ask questions and learn. And like, that was something I was still skating out at the time too. So then I was even more like, whoa, this is, so that was cool to have a coach that kind of emphasized that as a kid to like ask questions and that kind of thing. And then, I was growing up in Colorado when they had Patrick Waugh. So like it was very easy to want to turn on the TV and watch him play. And so I think when you do that and you watch a lot of hockey and then, I think that kind of helps at the same time and not just watching where you're following the puck around, but what is Patrick Waugh doing? What is Marc-Andre Fleury doing? Like when the puck is wherever it is.
Yeah, did you take we've had some guys. I remember Thatcher Demko told me he took notes. Like he used to keep a little notebook and sort of try things in practice based on what he'd watch. Were you to that degree, or you just were paying attention and sort of taking mental notes, so to speak?
Yeah, I wasn't taking notes or anything. It was more just kind of watching and then, like see them do like a windmill, like pad stack save. And I was like, well, I might try that in practice this week,
Well, which brings me to the XCEL Energy Center, because there may be one guy left that still does the old what we call the butter stack, or the like the windmills out of a butterfly slide turned into a 2-pad stack.
Yeah.
Have you, one of the greatest of all time, also one of the greatest people of all time, when you're sharing a facility, do you get to have a chance to sort of watch the Wild interact at all with some of those players? And like normally to be like just goalies, but like that one's kind of special.
That one, yeah, because I started wearing 29 in high school because I loved Fleury.
Okay.
That was why I'm even 29. And so I've always loved him. Like, I love his approach to the game. I love how much fun he has when he's on the ice. And so it was actually when we had a rivalry series game with US and Canada in Seattle last year, and the Kraken were playing the Wild. And we were kind of joking, me and Maddie were joking with our media person, like, hey, like, any chance we can meet him after the game? Like, and we just kind of were joking, not thinking there was a chance. And she was like, yeah, let me talk to their media person. And he came out, and so did Gus. Like, they both came out and talked to us for an extended period of time. And that was just one of those things where it was like, they didn't have to do that. Like, they absolutely, neither of them had to do that. And, I think that was just cool, to get to chat with your idol for a bit there. And then this year, we do kind of like, we generally on days they practice, like we practice after them. So, we'll be getting to the rink and walking around and kind of get to see what they're doing on the ice a little bit. But yeah, when Fleury walks by the locker room, he's always like, where are the goalies, and like, kind of got to see him get one of his like commemorative masks for the year this year. Was cool. And, it just, yeah, it is cool to see him around and like things like that. And actually, like, one of my favorite stories about him happened after 2018. We won gold and kind of got to do some kind of a media tour for the team, and then kind of got to go home to Colorado, and the Avs had me in to like drop the puck for a game, and they were playing the Vegas Golden Knights, and got to drop the puck and everything. And then our seats that they gave us were on the glass, like behind Fleury in the second period. And with some different stuff they had me doing during the game, I didn't sit down in the seats till like midway through the second. So I don't even know how he knew I was over there. But my parents were with me, and they told me later, they were like, we saw he kept looking in the corner and we didn't know what he was looking at. But eventually him and I made eye contact, and he took his gloves off and gave me like a thumbs up. And I was just like, that is just like, he's Canadian too. So I was just kind of like, to his awareness, and just like, it was obviously something small, but it was just cool, and like, I think it shows the kind of person he is. And obviously he's a tremendous goaltender, and it has been fun to be in the same state as him for sure.
He's one of the best, both people and goaltenders. That's the combination that makes it so special, right? You mentioned fun though. Like, it seems like you clearly have a passion for the position, whether it's the ice cream. Then you also seem to like, he talks about that, playing last puck, even when he's starting, like those little routines, like the importance of finding that balance of fun. It sounds like you found that too. Yeah,
I think some of it I would just attribute to like the teammates that I have, like on Team Minnesota or on USA Hockey. Like, we have a group that is like a core that gets along so well and has so much fun together on the ice, and obviously understands there's a job to be done, but we don't miss a second to smile and laugh and have fun and give each other, a little extra during practice and things like that. And I think that is generally when you're playing your best hockey, is when you're having fun and smiling. And, I think that goes for just about everybody. So, to have those people that make the rink fun to go to every day and give you, obviously you have your own reasons and you want to get better for yourself and for your team, but like, to have people around you that you want to play well for, I think is huge.
One of the other things in terms of as the PWHL, and you're in the XCEL Energy Center, and there's fans, and the profile is increased. All Star Game. Now that's not normally one that's so fun for us goalies, but like, are you trying to, like, 3-on-3 especially, like, once you get older, that's the one that, like you could play every night as a goalie in the beer league world. The ones you tend to turn down are the 3-on-3 ones. I know you're not turning down the All Star Game, but like, do you wish maybe there were a couple more players out there? How's your approach heading into this big week?
I am just basically approaching it as it is a celebration of hockey, and it's not for me. It'll be fun, and I'm just hoping that both teams get a chance to really showcase like the skill we have in our game and the ability of our players. So, I think at the end of the day, that's what's really important. And I've never got to do anything like this before, so. For the most part, I'm just looking forward to kind of taking it in and enjoying it. And at the end of the day, it's 3-on-3 and whatever happens, happens.
I love that. That's the approach you have to 3-on-3 in general. It's just go out there and have fun. I've really enjoyed this conversation. The fact you talked about reading the game means I am probably going to at some point take you up on a ProReads. It's time now that we got the PWHL, okay. It's time we expand that and take it outside the NHL. Nicole, thank you so much for your time. This is great. I hope you have a fantastic week in Toronto, 3-on-3 game aside, and just continued success.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And yeah, can't wait to go through it.
That was fantastic, Woody. Thanks for bringing that to us. Thanks for expanding the horizons of a lot of our listeners and bringing a lot of the young women who are listening to this podcast maybe a little bit closer to the game as well. Fantastic, and looking forward to more of those.
Yeah, and thanks to Nicole for all her time.
Absolutely.
Right? Like 45 minutes, and just so gracious with her time. And in typical Woody fashion, he had to ask a few extra ones and push it a little longer. But I just, what, like I said, there were so many takeaways. I don't care if you're a young goalie, male, female, beer league, whatever. So many great little insights there that you can bring into your game, take onto the ice and try, and you'll be better for it.
Yeah, listen, the guys in the NHL, they know what's coming when they head into Vancouver, but I don't think that the women knew that they had to sit down for hour-long interviews with Kevin Woodley every time he calls. So thank you, ladies. Really appreciate you putting up with Woody. And thanks for sharing all your information with and all your experience with all of our listeners. Just fantastic. Just before we hit the road here, Woody, because I know we got a lot going on behind the scenes, what's going on over at InGoalMag.com?
Well, we teased it there with Nicole. The beauty of their games being on YouTube means I can be digging out some highlights and potentially running some ProReads with the goalies in the PWHL.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
In the near future. But in the meantime, we continue to do that with the NHL guys. We've had, I can't even remember who the latest one, Matt Murray. We went back to Matt Murray this week. He may not be playing right now in the NHL because of the hip surgery, but remains one of our all-time best sort of ProReads guys. And so went back to Matt with another great breakdown this week. We had Jet Greaves last week, who's headed to the AHL All Star Game, and a little tease. I can't launch it just yet. We spent 45 minutes breaking down video with Maple Leafs goaltender Joseph Woll as he comes back from a high ankle sprain, and we'll be able to bring that to you in the near future as he makes his way back on the ice. He was, as he has been on the ice before the ankle injury this season, incredible in that format.
That is awesome. Maybe he can just hear him on the piano too. Maybe he could do the new intro for InGoal. That would be a pretty good way to go. Listen, just wanted to say on the Matt Murray thing, I get to listen to the whole interview. We just sort of cut out the individual ProReads for everybody. As Kevin is talking about how much he loves the work of Matt Murray in these ProReads, he is dead serious, because I get to listen to the stuff in between where he is absolutely fanboying with Matt, telling him how impressed he is with these incredible reads. Like, it is, the guy's insights are just fantastic. So please go check out the latest with Matt Murray. The other thing that we've got up, Woody, is another 5 damn things. I think we're up to about 20 damn things now that we've got on the website, something like that, with our good friend James Wendland. And we've been talking about getting together for more great things with James. This one is 5 damn things on a Bosu ball. You know, that funny little half ball that's sitting in the corner in the gym. If you're not sure how to use it, not sure how to make it goalie specific, check out 5 damn things of the Bosu ball this week.
Yep. Great advice from James. Always good to catch up with him. And Look for a lot more coming in the near future. We've got a few some guests we've had in the past, some breathing exercises coming, some vision work coming. It's been a little bit hectic. We're trying to catch up and bring you even more content here in the coming weeks. So sort of get our feet back under us. And after a busy couple of weeks with for me, the Canucks being in town for an extended home streak, the All-Star break is maybe not a break from work, but it's a break and a chance to catch up on content and keep making sure that we're bringing goalies fresh stuff to help improve their game on the ice.
Fantastic. Wherever you are listening to this podcast, if you're a goalie parent, a goalie coach, take a second, send us a note, info@ingoalmag.com. We'd love to hear from you, who you are, where you're listening, what you like about the show. It's always great to hear from people. Thank you so much to our friends over at the Hockey Shop and thehockeyshop.com, as always, for making this show possible, for our friends at NHL Sense Arena for bringing the feature interview with Nicole Hensley as they do every week. And thank you to you for listening. On behalf of Darren Millard on the All-Star break, Kevin Woodley, and myself, I wish you all a fantastic week in goal.